This week in Warcraft, Warlords of Draenor, Garrisons, level 100, Mythic Rating and more. I'm Mezzy and welcome to WoW Weekly. Alright, welcome back to WoW Weekly. As you can see, Mario is back and he's acting like a jackass. Welcome back, Mario, after being away for at least a month.
Yeah, glad to be back,
Yes, I can really tell that you're glad to be back. As always, welcome back, LJ.
Well, thank you.
How are you?
Doing quite fine. Yourself?
Right. Well, I was good until I decided Mario should come back.
I have no idea why you did that. Even your lawyer advised against it.
I know, exactly. Something went horribly wrong. And last but not least, as always, Matt, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad. Hi, everybody.
So, episode number 11. Warlords of Draenor, huh? We had Blizzcon last week. So, basically today we're just going to talk Warlords. Basically, Garrosh escapes at either the end of map or the beginning of the Warlords, however you want to see it. And he goes back in time, into an alternate timeline, so we won't alter the past of our current Azeroth. And basically, we have to fight the 7 clan leaders of the old horde back in the day, in the books especially. How do you guys feel about the general plot line, the setting in general?
Nobody thinks anything. This was the podcast. Good night.
Yeah, this was.
Yeah, I can tell.
No, I just thought it was going to be an introduction or someone will be announced to start first. So.
When sometimes he does that, but sometimes he just doesn't feel like it. So yeah, you just have to anticipate what he wants.
I know, such a demanding person. But
I mean, we have 25 viewers already going to his head.
But no, on a serious note, it looks interesting. It's going to be for people that have a big thing about the whole lore. People are going to love that part of it, and they're going to be loved meeting some of the biggest badasses they've ever read about. If you know what I mean, it's going to be quite interesting. My personal opinion was as I think I told you before, when I first saw the trailer, I was a little bit sort of underwhelmed by it, or I wasn't really sure where they were going. But the more and more I learned about it, which we'll go more into this, it looked quite good. It looked like it will be very enjoyable and a bit of a difference and stuff like that with some of the features that are coming in, which we'll go a bit more detailed with later on.
Yeah, okay. First impressions from the other two?
Shall we talk at the same time, or?
No, just go for it.
I'll go first then. I really enjoyed it. I agree with Matt a little bit because the trailer itself was a little bit underwhelming compared to others because it didn't have that oomph, that Shazam factor. Shazam factor. Ta-da! But no, I mean, it's just if you have everything combined, especially the garrison. I mean, I think it's going to be a really good expansion again. With a lot of different things, especially the lore, that they are emphasizing a lot on lore again is really a plus side for me because I feel they spent some time on it, but not a lot in the previous expansions. But yeah, now I'm really looking forward to it. Goes back to Draenor, fight the Iron Horde. Yeah, bring it on.
Yeah. All right then, Mario, your first impression.
Yeah, I have to agree with our guest here as well. When I first saw the trailer, even though it ended, I wasn't really sure if that was the final trailer. I thought maybe that was just like a work in progress. It didn't really at first did justice for me. But as I followed the event, as they explained how the story would develop, the going back part, which is not really that It's not really a pivot for the expansion, the back that they go back in time. It's like a minimal item within the entire factor. But the idea of going back to an era of the lore that it builds to what we came to what we come to know today as World of Warcraft. It's quite a nice twist to it has been like a very nice decision. I think they really did it well, and it would probably get even more into the people who are already fans and faithful players and raiders as well, and as well as the new people that may come and join the game, because I mean WoW, it's full of history and lore and characters, and spending a bit more time on that definitely is a plus for me as well, which also made me, I always wanted at some level to read all the books, but the fact that we are going back, and it really said, okay, now I just have to read the books.
Yeah, you do. Because I've read most of the books, not all of them, at least not some of the more recent ones, because they are coming out pretty quickly and I don't have a limited cash to spend on them. But basically, I'm really looking forward to going back to Draenor, basically before it was Outland. And one thing I have to note about the intro they were showing, that was just a feature intro though, not as much as a cinematic for what you'll find when you load up the game, for example.
Yeah, so that's fair enough and understandable. I think for me, it was, how to put this, I'm not sure what type they had when Cataclysm were coming out, but I don't know, everyone sort of knew the gist of what was the trailer for Cataclysm. It made a bit more sense, if you know what I mean. I know it's more about the features, but the trailer they announced if you think about it, the trailer had nothing about the features. That's what came afterwards. The actual trailer was literally, this is our expansion, we're going to wow you with what we're doing. The cinematic, as we always know, comes afterwards, and it was... Yeah. It was... Once everything got explained afterwards, I think me and LJ were on TeamSpeak at the time, we actually went back afterwards and read it, looked at it again. It made a lot more sense. And actually, once we looked at it a second time, it was almost, that's what they were meaning. But first time through, I actually turned around and said to people on TeamSpeak at the time, I was more looking forward to Heroes of the Storm than I was World of Warcraft because of what the trailers did. And yes, I know Heroes of the Storm was cinematic, but that's just what I felt at the time.
Yeah. We'll come back to Heroes of the Storm in another episode, but for shortly, that looks amazing, so completely understandable. Especially from what they showed in cinematics compared to what they showed for WoW. So, yeah. Before we move on to the more mechanic and feature updates, one thing we should note, they're finally coming with the new character models. That's been coming for a very long time. They look pretty good, don't they?
I like them. I think they do look pretty cool. Like the dwarf one, as my fiance calls it, the bearded lady.
No,
actually,
she calls me that.
Oh, sorry. Calls you.
While I'm on my character, yeah. Thanks for that. So, yeah.
But no,
let's get things straight here.
I have to agree. I think that does look. They do look nice. They do look some good. I play Worgen, and I'm pretty much resigned. I don't think we're going to get that much love, but you never know. If they've got a bit of time at the end of it, they might turn around and say, "Oh, all right," and we might as well do all of them. But no, they all look pretty.
Well, they have actually said it already. What they're going to do? They're first going to do the classic races.
Yep.
Then once those are done, the Burning Crusade races, and once those are done, they're going to reevaluate and look and see if the Worgen and Goblins need a revamp as well.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said but it'll sort of be a time orientated because as one thing they have said before, that so they've probably come later in, but they are aiming to sort of get this. They're wanting to get this released a little bit quicker than the last couple of patches. I think everyone that watched the opening thing or know Blizzard, they're notoriously time conscious. Is the best word. Like, it normally takes about a decade for anything to come out. So even that bad, they're even making. It's that bad they're even making jokes about it themselves. So
yeah, indeed. Yeah.
So it's one of these things. It's almost like, so they know they're really bad at it. Oh, it's brilliant! Yay! So we'll see. It should be interesting.
Yeah. So let's move on. What I'll say already is that they mainly introduced mechanic and game feature changes, not as much content changes, but we'll get into that at the end of the podcast or next one, depending on how fast this one goes. So let's go over them just one by one. The first one is, or are rather, the inventory changes. Heirlooms, toys, quest items, they're all going to get their own tabs, so we won't have them in our bags anymore. How much is that going to save you in space?
Probably like like half of it, I think.
Yeah.
Especially with. I don't know if you said that. I was paying attention for a moment there, but what you said about gear. That I mean, like how they changed the gear that played. If you change specs, that changes with
No,
along
we
with you.
haven't gotten to that yet.
We haven't gone to that yet. Well, we'll get to that, but still, that's also going to save me a lot of gear. So this expansion is going to get space. I mean, going to save me a lot of. I think half to 3/4. Yeah, backspace.
I mean, that's one of the features that I really took close to heart and say thank you, because I do like to collect a lot of the stuff that happened in game. I mean, for instance, if you remember back in Vanilla WoW, the items needed to complete the chain quest for the Dread Steep Mount. I still keep those because I remember that the series of missions that had to be done, the quest had to be done with such fond memories that I just wanted to keep that until the end of days. And I keep so many of those original items in my banks, and I don't know where to put them. Some of the items and gear that I use for transmog, I obviously have them on the void storage, but it definitely will help a lot, that feature.
Well, speaking of void storage and transmogrification, one of the things that wasn't announced, stated on Blizzcon, but I believe in one of the interviews, or maybe later on even, was that they're going to try and implement the upcoming Diablo transmogrification way into World of Warcraft. So once you've discovered a look, basically, of an item, you learn it, and then you don't have to keep it in your bags anymore. So that's going to save me my entire void storage bank, plus about half of the inventory in my normal bank.
And that's going to annoy a lot of people because it's going to destroy the actual amount of money that people make.
Yeah, that will definitely hit some people. That is a small majority, though, so sorry to those, but screw you guys. I want my bag space back.
Yeah, Mazzy always making friends, making sure that whatever is the more beneficial thing for him, it stays that way.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Well, the thing is, with what you've said about everything with the backspace, it's going to help a huge amount. My parent, as I've said to you before, so we know where they've got it from. They've looked at other games. They've tried to get the best thing from other games. And I played Guild Wars when it first came out, and I said their bag system, the way their bags work, and the way that it's just so much cleaner. It's so much easier. It makes so much more sense to do it how they're doing it. Whereas, it's just so hectic. I'm rules in my bag. My bags are always messy, but now they've done it like with the professions as well. I think that you mentioned professions are going to have a chance to. You're going to use your banks for your professions, and you're not going to have to mess around with everything. That's going to be so much nicer. So easier.
One thing we haven't said directly, but you're also going to be allowed to craft from your bank, so you don't have to carry around all those different minerals and enchanting mats and whatnot anymore. You'll be able to keep them in your bank, and then still enchant your items whenever you need to, if you still have the mats at least in your bank.
Yeah, to me that's probably the best change, because it's just going to be so useful.
Yeah, same here. I mean, like what you said, Messi, also goes for me. I think half of my bank, probably more, and my total void storage are dedicated to purely transmogrification stuff. I mean, and that's even not all the gear I want, because there's still so much more that I want.
Yeah.
Being a paladin, there are so many awesome sets in World of Warcraft. So yeah, I mean, They're really gonna just. That's something that really is nice in this expansion. They're doing a lot of things that don't just all those little things that make the experience so much easier and better and nice. Just
Yeah.
like backspace and stuff like that is and the garrison, everything. Just a lot of those things that a lot of games are getting now that. Well, basically, World of Warcraft can't stand behind anymore, which is in its way good, to be honest.
Yeah, it's good that a lot of these other games are coming out now and doing things that they've learned from World of Warcraft. They've seen that World of Warcraft is the benchmark for the games, and then they've turned around and said, "What are we going to do to try and make that a better game?" Now, Guild Wars is a storytelling and leveling is actually a really, really good game, but unfortunately, it's the type of game because the way they've done Endgame for me. I just play it, and I can happily. I've got the game. I can happily, because there's no subscription, log on once every couple of months. I can play for 3 or 4 hours non-stop for once every couple of months. Not play it again for another 3 or 4 months because there's no drive there for me to get to another level because there's not much to do, and there just isn't. I know people are like, oh, PvP, yay! I don't PvP, so that's for me. But their bag system is really good, and they've mentioned. We'll get to something else. I mentioned other things that we'll talk about from the games later in, and they've tried to make all these other things slightly better, and I'm looking forward to it. The bag space is good. I'm all right though. I have a fiance who loves sorting bag space out, so she spent 2 hours this morning sorting my bank and my bag out to make it nice and tidy.
She's done it like
Are you joking me?
Every 3 weeks, she reorganizes the bank of the guild. I mean, she loves doing stuff like that.
She literally loves it. She must have been 2 hours this morning doing it out, and I was like, yeah, if you want, fine.
If she advertised that kind of service to WoW, she'll be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Like the Chinese gold farmers and stuff, she'll be millionaire.
Yeah. Well, you never know. We can play... I'm not going to do free advertising at the moment, but we'll sort it out for next week.
Of course.
We have a new commercial now.
Moving on, let's keep it 2 items. As either LJ or Matt, I'm not sure which of the 2 said now, but we're going to get some changes to the way gear works. There will no longer be int plate and strength plate gear, for example, but there will be just plate, just mail, just leather, and just cloth gear, which obviously means there will be a greater demand per item for every player, because, for example, if you have your hunter, or hunter's a bad example, if you're a paladin and you have a set of gear and you're currently holy, all your gear will have the stats you need for holy. As soon as you respec to protection, for example, all that gear changes. All the stats change to protection stats. So you will only need 1 set of gear for every spec you want to play. So I already saw LJ doing 2 thumbs up. I can...
Definitely. I mean, the amount of... how many... I've had a couple times now that I've had 3 sets of gear, Holy, Retrodin, and Tank. And I don't always use them. Most of the times I use Holy, and after that comes Retrodin sometimes. But the amount of space that takes up. I mean, how many slots are there for your gear? 14 or 15? Something like that?
17 or 18, I believe.
Something like
19.
that. I mean, let's make it at 20. Put it on a nice even number. So that's 40 pieces, 40 slots in your bags that's just taken up by gear that you might use. I have a heart for my guild, but sometimes it's just like, where do I put the stuff for my farm and everything? It's just, oh god. But this really, I have to see it work. See, of course, if it's all working good, but I have full confidence that they're going to make it work correctly, though, because it's just, I want it so badly.
I'm a bit more pessimistic about it, just because.
You're pessimistic.
No, it's not that. I just find it a bit lazy and stuff like that. It's going to be the item you've got. I'm a leather, and so that basically means that a leather belt's going to drop. It's not going to be specific for me. Yes, I know I can get unlucky, and it may not drop for God knows how long. Fair enough, but that's part of the game. That's part of the luck on the loot. Now, especially with something I have to mention. We're in a 10-man guild at the moment, but that's something we can talk about later. But now, with the way that they're wanting guilds to go, you're going to have, if you're doing heroic raiding, 20 people. If you've got a setup, you might have, 5 leather workers? 5 people with leather, sorry, all going for the same one belt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know it can be like, I just think it's almost just, I don't know. I can see the bonuses of it. I'm
It's
just
patching.
not.
It's ever as a never-ending patching the issue.
Yeah,
Patching the problem instead of solving it. I mean, again, that was one of the things that I initially I was kind of okay. I think I know where this is going, and maybe at the beginning I may have seen some benefits, but then again it hit me and said, yeah, but still, it's like you're not solving the issue here because people will still because people there are still people, and sometimes it can be the majority, which is a downside. The majority of people may still be, what is vulgarly known as the loot horse, and unfortunately that concept still drives partially the hard core content, because the loots, it's also something that they need in order to progress. So when they said that, oh no, by the way, now the loot will be adaptable by your class, and obviously that means that you get a leather, and if you're a boomkin, it will be DPS, and if you're a healer, it will be obviously healing. It will giving you the stats according to your class. And I was like, yeah, that's great technology, great thinking, but there are two things you're doing. One, you're not solving really the problem, and two, you're keeping it farther from the original concept it was, which worked fine, which is people work hard towards getting an item, and that work, the effort that you put in, it was rewarded once you obtained it. But also there was some involvement where each player had some portion of their profession to build towards one set of gear or one piece of gear. Again, quickly I just thought, listen, Blizzard, seriously, the best way to solve this is if you just forget about the tokens, forget about the loot, make sure that in the encounters people get items so they can use their professions to create and craft their end item. Period. Because everyone at that stage is engaged, they would then craft their own items that suit their class or role better. It will end up giving you that option as well. And it will be even more rewarding because you're getting even the people more involved in creating their own gear.
Yes. And then with all this said, my question to you guys is, the system that Blizzard is going to implement now, isn't that just more oversimplification of the game?
Totally.
yeah.
In my opinion, yeah.
I agree. It's. Listen, I understand what they're coming. I understand the concept of what they want. They want to sort of, like we've had it in this expansion, and it is my biggest annoyance with the expansion that they've just released, not the expansion, sorry, with the patch they have just released, is they have been building every single person in the group, or in the raid, sorry, who raids left, right, and centre, to get an epic back piece. That's what they've been building.
Legendary, you mean?
Legendary back piece. That's what they have basically been building everybody towards. So what drops off like the first 6 or 7 bosses in the dungeon? What drops off trash?
Certainly not cloaks.
No, not by
Back
the dozen.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, if they really, is that just an oversight or?
Well, I can tell you the intention. The intention behind that was so that people who weren't at the start of the expansion on the quest chain straight away, they would still have a chance to get a decent cloak.
Yeah, but then I know what you mean. But the way they've been doing it, they could have also done like a stopcast. I know what you mean. Oh, it gives them people to get a decent cloak, but not so many cloaks, literally, and not off like the first 6 or 7 bosses in there. It's almost like they drop off trash, or just let them drop off trash because they know they're not such an important class, if you know what I mean. At the end of the day, what's the point in having a cloak drop that no one really wants? 90% or say whatever percent of people who raid want. You might as well just have it drop off trash and look, if they drop regularly enough anyway off the trash. It's not like they're a rare cloaks.
But the thing is, though, you just said 90%, and apparently that isn't very accurate. Only a small percentage of even the raiding community actually has the legendary cloak. People
They
were
suck.
really
Even I
behind.
have. Even I have it. They must suck.
So all of you who don't have a legendary cloak, you heard it here. Matt says you suck.
Because even I have it, and I suck.
Yeah.
Hey, in my defense, I'm actually doing the quest line because I haven't done it. So hey, be considerate.
You still suck.
He sucked from the beginning. I mean, I
Exactly.
don't know what the problem was.
Well, the words that I heard when I came into this Skype channel today.
Oh, dear.
Well,
Let's not get into that. So let's move on. The final point about items. Hit, expertise, parry, dodge, and reforging are all gone. Enchants and gems will be on less items. The enchants, however, will be more diverse for slot stats, so can be enchanted. And gems will be stronger. There will no longer be socket bonuses or meta gems. And because of all of this, especially the parry and dodge changes, armor will become a viable tank stat again. More removal of some mechanics. In the case of expertise and hits, I'm like, yes, finally! I've been over the hit cap for so long now, and I can't wait to get rid of it. On the other hand, the same question goes: is it another oversimplification of a mechanic of the way you gear up for raiding?
it all
I like-
depends. Oh, sorry. Oh,
No, sorry. I just wanted to say if I can go first on this topic. Actually, no. This is one of the things that Blizzard does and does right. And if you remember during the ceremony when it has been announced, everyone cheered for it because
Yeah.
it was okay. Finally, something that is addressing our concern and is addressing the game mechanics in a large scale. Because the mechanics is that we over the years we have been building these extra and adding even more stuff to adjust something that wasn't quite balancing out. So that we just keep stacking more particularities in the game to make sure that it balances out. When in reality, all you just need to do is just keep it simple. Simple, a system that works. And people will eventually, theory crafters will still continue doing their job. People will still, address and calculate what gear goes best with what. They'll continue, but it'll just be a lot simpler in ways that people will still enjoy the game, will probably spend less time in trying to figure out what to have, and just go about doing the game, doing the quests, getting gear, getting progress, getting the raids done, and be more with the community. And I think they did an amazing job in that, just removing and keeping it simple, going back again to the old days.
Okay, yeah, sure. And I like to add to the stat changes, because there's actually one more thing I almost forgot about. They're tertiary stats, new stats incoming. These will have a low chance, approximately 10% chance, to also be on gear when it drops. And these are going to be brand new stats, and in my opinion, really fun ones. Let's see what examples did they give. Bonuses like lifesteal, damage reduction on AoE damage taken, durability loss immunity, movement speed, and even cleaving. So,
Did somebody say cleavage? Sorry.
lowering the
Wow, really? Lowering
You
the
had
quality.
to go there.
Wow.
Of course I had to go there. Come on, we have to get views somewhere.
But
That actually is one of those things. We are getting rid of a problem and we're adding some cool stuff to just put a cherry on top. And it was that when that was announced, it was ace because I mean there were some stats there where you can certainly think and see, yeah, it makes sense. And not only that, life hit or life steal or cleave. It was like how have we survived without it until today? Especially tanks, especially warriors. So, and lifesteal actually, that was quite surprising, but it does also make sense, in terms of, combat, because that actually gives you an extra even.
you heal yourself.
Yeah,
That's not
exactly.
bad.
Yeah, you give. Yeah. It works out. It works a lot better as well as a raid composition.
My only issue is is they're taking Reforging out. Fair enough, taking Reforging. If they're going to take Reforging out, they need to balance the items against what is better. Like, I'm a Resto Druid. I play Restoration Druid, played it for a while. It is widely regarded that you need, I think it's precisely with the 5%
I know what
force,
you're going to say. They're
3,000.
removing haste caps. They're going to do their best to remove them as much as possible.
Is that it? Because that, as long as that is done properly, as long as that's done, not just haste caps though, because, well, yeah, that is mainly the thing is with haste caps, you sort of put everything into mastery. If they manage to get that done correctly, it should be all right. But I'm just, I don't have to worry about it. Are we going to get?
Sorry, no, continue.
So, are we going to get to a situation where they say, "Oh yeah, we don't need haste caps," but then are we going to get a situation where that mastery could be quite good for a druid, if you know what I mean? So, are you with this is going back to the whole loot system? Is it then going to be a case of do you get a choice what stat you want on your belt, or is it just going to be a bog standard one particular belt? And if you get another belt, it could be pot luck to whether you get a different stat or something like that.
Well, if you think about it, there's not going to be a difference anymore between the different types of leather, mail, etc., that type of gear. So what I imagine they'll do to still have enough loot for on bosses to have different secondary stats for multiple belts, for example, belt drops of boss 2 with mastery haste, for example, and then from boss 8 another boss that drops a belt that gives haste crit, for example. I don't know, something like that. I imagine they'll fill up the loot slots basically for bosses that can drop loot in that way.
Yeah, we'll see. There's plenty of time to see how it works. It looks good. Say it just depends. Say what they do replace them with. I'm pretty sure out of everything they've placed them for so far, there's not much for a healer. Am I right? Really?
What do you mean?
What are the? Sorry, just run. I'm pretty sure the actual stuff they've announced, the stuff they're looking at, like the new added things on items. I'm pretty sure there's nothing for them really for a healer, unless
Cleave,
you say
probably more AOE healing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe cleave means cleave healing, which may be quite good. Or are you going to
bonus?
There's
speed,
probably still they're probably going. They haven't introduced everything yet, of course.
Yeah,
so there'll probably
so
stuff like maybe cleave instead. But I mean I don't know. That the copy maybe that they the heal copies onto another target or stuff like that. I mean, like trinkets have nowadays. I'm just thinking that they can do stuff like that as well. I don't know what they're gonna do.
It should be interesting.
Oh, definitely. I mean, everything they've said. Well, most of the things they've said are interesting for one way or the other. So, really looking forward to it.
Yeah. So in general, I think the consensus is we are pretty happy with the way items are going to be continued to be developed, with the exception of the oversimplification of the way plates, mail, leather, and cloth are going to work.
Yeah,
I
think
it's a step too far.
Well, yeah, I heard what you guys said. Of course, it might be a simplification, but I mean, you don't. The thing is, you shouldn't. Like we've done before, we're calling everything, casualization, simplification, whatever you want to call it. But it still has to happen in one form or the other. That's what they've been doing the past 10 years. They have been simplifying the game. Well, maybe not every time, expertise, but most of the times they tried to make the game more enjoyable via a simplification or a complexity. So calling something an oversimplification is, I don't know. I agree with you guys to some point, but it's also, I don't know. With the gear, I see what they're trying to do, and maybe it is an oversimplification, but I think it also has a lot of positive aspects to it, and not just to make something more simple.
Yeah, obviously. Most of the things that they're doing are positive for the game, but just on that one point, we see what they're trying to do, but it's probably a step too far. That's, I think, the general point we're trying to get across.
Yeah, that's and I'm disagreeing.
Okay.
Jeez.
How dare you disagree?
That's why I'm in here on here.
Oh
Am I?
yeah, yeah.
That's
All
why you
right.
don't. That's what you not pay me for.
Yeah, I see. So, anything else you want to add to that then to give your case for the items, LJ?
No, basically not. I think
Okay.
I've said most of the things now that I am pro change.
Change is bad. Let's move on.
Okay. Fucking
Okay.
Republicans.
So, let's move on to the biggest change, at least for most of us, for raiding. The way it's going to work in Warlords of Draenor. Let me see if I still have the chart up in XSplits. I think I might have it. Here we go. So, what's going to happen? In 6.0, Raid Finder is still going to be Raid Finder. However, that's going to scale from 10 to 25 players. So if you're in the Raid Finder queue, you might just find that little pop quickly. Or when people leave, you might find that the Raid boss suddenly has less health. So Raid Finder will stay on the same difficulty, but you'll be able to do it with less players. Now let's move on. Flex. It's going to be called normal, and it's still going to work exactly the same as Flex, and it's going to be on the same difficulty. Nothing changes there other than the name. The same goes for normal mode rating currently. Normal mode rating currently is going to be called heroic rating next year, and instead of having a format 10 or 25, it'll have the flex mechanic that you can do it with 10 to 25 players. So you can, if you have a 10-player guild right now that does normal modes, but you have a roster of 14 people, you'll be able to raid with all those 14 people the next expansion. Now the more difficult part for the current heroic guilds. The current heroic 10 and heroic 25 is in the next expansion going to be called Mythic. This is going to be a 20-player difficulty size. It won't be have a flex mechanic for balancing reasons, and this basically affects every single heroic raiding guild in the game. If they still want to continue raiding, well then Mythic next expansion. It's yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it.
No,
Well, I know you feel bad about it, but yeah.
I didn't like it. I didn't like that part because no, again, I think that is a slap in the face for those who, I want to use Paragon as an example. Back in the day, Wrath of Lich King, I was following Paragon's progress quite closely, and they were a prime example of what a guild can do when they really get the community together. You know, a group of people, they sit down, 25 people, they sit down and they work towards a common goal. So when they heard, and the changes happened in Cataclysm when it hit, and obviously coupled, not only that wasn't the only reason, but coupled with some people that they had to pursue their careers and whatever. So it became much less attractive for people to continue with the 25-man guilds. But I'm sure that actually it was a very big concern. It was a huge impact for people to make their decisions. And one of the reasons why there were so many that chose to either disband or just straight go to 10-man. I think they're trying to save, but I think that they should flat out go back to the 25-man setup that we used to have in the beginning, because I mean they will have the content to get people interested. They will have the opportunity, the lore, the mechanics to have that faith restored, to have that passion regained again. So I think that they should just go back to the old model, which worked perfectly back in Wrath until up to Wrath of Lich King, and because they will have already all these mechanics to allow the newcomers to enjoy it. So why not go back? Why not give to the hardcore raiders, the old time hardcore raiders, what they has been longing for since Wrath of Lich King? I don't know. So I was kind of disappointed with that.
Okay. LJ, Raoul, you were about to say something as
What was I going to say? I don't remember. But what I was
About
thinking
not
about
being
was-
happy.
Yeah, I knew you were. As soon as you heard that, I knew you weren't happy with it. That and I fully understand that, especially with you with and Matt with Arm, that you just started a new guild, basically, and now you have to change that around again.
Yeah.
So it's just I get that, but and I get what Mario has been saying, but I mean that it's not the first time they've changed it, and it'll probably not be the last one. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's just I don't know what Blizzard is trying to do with the rating. I think they're just trying to keep it as new as possible, maybe. If you
Well,
can put it like that.
they've already explained it. First of all, I will say I do respect Blizzard for making this decision. It's a ballsy move to tell every single hero grading guild, which is only the top 1% of the WoW community, to say, screw you all, we're going to do it differently, so design will be more fun and easier for us. Because that's basically one of the main reasons. They want to be able to use or design bosses with more mechanics than they could where they had to do it for both 25 and 10-man rating. Because if it's worked well on 25, it didn't always work well on 10.
Yeah.
For example, a group splitting mechanics. You couldn't really do anything more than 2 groups on 10-man. Well, they maybe had mechanic ideas that required more than 2 groups. I think a good example is Nefarian from back in Cataclysm. That was in 10-man, then 3 different groups still as well. And, we did raid 25-man at the time, so I don't know how well that went over to the 10-man guilds. Mario, what the hell are you doing with your hands?
He's typing.
Okay.
Never
Anyway,
ask a man what he's doing with his hands behind the computer.
he's muted himself anyway. Jesus Christ. So anyway, that's one of the main decisions behind it, so that they can design and balance more easily for the heroic tier. It does mean that every hero grading guild has to make some concessions. 10-man guilds more than 25-mans though, because 10-mans will basically have to double their roster, while 25-mans will have to say to 5 to 7 people, sorry, we can't take you anymore. But yeah, I mean, right now, as officer, as raid leader of a 10-man guild, I feel pretty screwed over. There's no way around saying that. It's not a great thing for a guild that's been out for, well, let's say a full tier now, to hear that we're gonna have to switch it up again at the end of this Pandaria. Don't know how you feel about it, Matt, also being in the same 10-man guild.
Matt?
Sorry about that. My opinion on that is they've basically fixed an error they made a while ago. That is what everyone knows they've done. Everyone knows they should never... I think it's the way they've done this big announcement in such a way that it means they don't have to turn around and say, yeah, we bollocks stopped there, didn't we? They just didn't want to turn around and say, yeah, we made a bit of a mistake. We thought this was the way to go, but actually it wasn't as fun for us. It's turned out to be a bit more of a pronunciation, but a ball ache than it actually turned to be a good thing of splitting 10 and 25. The big argument was who was the best guild. There was 10-man people, there was 25-man people. At the end of the day, I was in a 25-man guild. We enjoyed doing 25-man guild raids. There was fights that were 10 times harder on 25-man than there were on 10-man. That is not a myth, that is fact. And it's not due to the mechanics of the fight. It is due to the fact that people have a decent standard of raiders, but it's 10 times easier to get 10 people to do what they should be doing than it is to get 25 people that are doing. The logistics of it make it that way. So what they've done is they've turned around and thought, well, we can't go back to 25-man raiding, because if we go back to 25-man raiding, we're basically picking the 25-man side. And we can't do that because we want to be vile. So what they've done is they've split it down the middle. They've turned around and gone, yeah, we've got to do that. We've got to split it down the middle. 20-man, fair enough. We're not going to have like 17-man a don't found. We'll round up 20-man. Then 10-mans can do what they need to sort it out. 25-man should be happy because, okay, there might be certain raids when there's a lot. They might have to kick 3 or 4 people, maybe some of the tight-knit groups, but they should be all right with that. It won't be too bad. And that's really the decision they've made. I think it should have been, yeah, it needs to be done because we want quality content. And I still feel that having the split between 10 and 25-man content has been sort of diluting the quality of the content that we have been getting, because instead of creating the best fight possible for what we all want, they've been too busy wondering how they're going to balance the 2 raids. So I can see why they've done it. I agree with you. Once you get a guild going, it's a nightmare for all the guilds. What you get, there's not much we can say else about that. There's no other way around it. They knew all the 10-man guilds were going to be a bit messed up, especially for our guilds, sort of with the server that are on. People like Paragon will be fine. If they want to go back up, if they want to do it, all they need to do is turn around, because it's such an iconic name, and say we're going to recruit any language, and they will absolutely blitz there. They will easily get quality people apply for that guild who will leave other quality guilds because they are Paragon. Being a part of Paragon is something else. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
think that's
this
well
is
said.
yeah, this is one topic that I have a lot to cover as well, and say, okay, let's just quickly do a summary of what happened. Back in the beginning, we had 40 man raids, 40 man guilds, 40 man raids, and back at the time, those raids that existed, and let's remind ourselves that back then, Blizzard or WoW didn't have nearly as many players as we have today. So then we switched from 40-man raids, and even then the technology wasn't that great, and they still had servers or the technology good enough to maintain those instances running. They were fine, so on and so forth. Also, they had some problems, were adjusted, as subsequently you had in Wrath of the Lich King, as we had in the Burning Crusade, and etc. Now, and then we move on to the 24-man, to the 25-man raid guilds and raid size.
Or
And
wait,
then
10-man.
and then obviously in parallel there also came about the 10-man ones. Obviously they prioritized the content, how hard it was better for the 25-man, because obviously they wanted to maintain the bigger, the better content for those who made the commitment, who put more effort in, etc. And then we now have all these flags, etc. And I think that is a wrong view to say, no, I think they were doing right by allowing the new coming guilds and all this. No, I think it's wrong. This is my perspective, this is my opinion. I think it's wrong to think it this way, because when at the time Blizzard gave them that option, it was like, well, we have to adapt. So yes, they did. We adapted, and there existed really nice guilds, 40-man guilds. Let's also remember the fact that one of the best contents, rating contents, were probably at the beginning. With the Ragnaros and the Gates of Ankiraj and the whole. There was an epic content, epic rating, epic bosses at the time. So I think that nowadays we're simplifying everything. This is where simplifying gets in the negative side. It's by oversimplifying these things, which could really be an incentive for people to really put the effort in, to sit down. Okay, let's work as a group to make sure that our enjoyment is coupled with what the game has to offer, the end game content, how difficult it is. Let's adopt this idea of really putting all everyone's efforts towards reaching the end game content, and let's adapt to the hardship. Let's adapt to the hardcore concept of raiding, and not the other way around. Because now what's happening is Blizzard is adapting to the new coming guilds, and no, this is going the other direction. It's going wrong. I don't see. I don't like that.
Yeah, I can see what you're talking about. It's one of those things that they're trying to do a mix and match of different tactics to keep everyone happy, and we'll see how it goes. As I said, the top guilds will survive no matter what happens. People want to join them. This is where they've not looked into the sort of 10-mans in the similar levels where we are. Our guild is heroic raiding guild. We're doing all right now. We've caught up a bit, and we've had a few issues along the way with people, but we're at the sort of level where they're not going to be listening. They're not going to be paying that much attention to what we're doing. They're looking at the top 100 guilds. They're thinking the top 100 10-man guilds. Oh, they'll be fine. They'll be able to get the people from probably guilds like us, but guilds like us that struggle to get the members, probably spend and end up going into one of the bigger guilds to keep going. I think that's what they're sort of banking on a little bit, which is a bit of an armor. They turned around and said, "Oh yeah, the 10-man guilds, well, it should help because what will happen is they should be able to get some new player base in around expansion. Normally good times to recruit while people are leveling and all that malarkey." And then they said, "But there'll be some 25-man guilds that will get rid of some players." There's not going to be that many players around from 25-man guilds, especially on this server that we're on, precisely. So I think that's what they're sort of hoping. They're sort of thinking there's going to be a few mergers, some 10-man guilds that get on will merge with each other, and that's going to be the way of the world, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and I do want to give a minor PSA to all fellow officers, raid leaders, recruitment officers, whatever out there. You still have until the end of the expansion to still clear Orgrimmar first, and then start thinking about recruitment or possible guild merges. The expansion isn't even in beta yet. Don't know if it's even in alpha yet. From what I've heard, just 2 the zones are ready for alpha type content. So it's still ways off. Don't panic, just continue doing the tier as you have been doing right now. Once you get towards the end, you can already start thinking about recruitment, but you don't have to do it so actively yet. Once you've completed the tier, you can start recruiting and start working those new people into your raiding team. Let them get used to your team, see if they're any good as well. So you have time, relax a bit. So let's move on to still raiding related, but something LJ can talk about more as well, is that we're now going to have on LFR normal and heroic then, which is the new normal next expansion. We're going to have 10 to 25 people, the flex mechanic, which is pretty good for the non-heroic guilds. Now, another good thing to add to that is those first 3 lockouts will have loot lockouts. That means you'll be able to do bosses multiple times on the same difficulty, but you'll only be able to get loot from it once. Which means that if you're doing a boss with your guild one night, but want to help a friend out, for example, in the weekend, you can actually still help that friend out even though you won't get gear. Now, so LJ, there's something for you to talk about. How do you like all of these changes for the, for the more social guilds, for the social raiding guilds? LJ, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I muted my microphone there. I was typing a lot, so sorry about that. Mechanical keyboard will make a lot of noise. But no, I like the changes. I think they give a lot of options for, especially for guilds that I am in. I mean, I've given up progression rating. I really don't like it that much anymore. So I mean, I just like the laid back situation of social guild. But this also gives the options to do more than just that, and to have a look at other things, and like you said, help people out when needed and stuff like that. I think it's with also the inclusion of mythic, of course, and such. I think the whole rating tiers, the whole pyramid, to put it like that, is I think it's better than it used to be and has been. I know I agree with what Mario said though, because from 40 and up, it's sometimes a bit oversimplification in the bad sense of the word. But I think what they are doing now is really trying to say, "We're sorry," and continuing on with it, and making
Okay.
it correct.
Hang on, right there. VP South Park type, we're sorry.
Yep, exactly.
I feel we need to do a video like that.
We're sorry. Oh,
Anyway,
God.
continue.
No, that was basically it. I really think that what they have been struggling to find a really good formula rating wise. I think WoW is still one of the main games MMOs out there with which has basically almost always had very good end tier content, a lot of rating, a lot of difference in the rating and such. So I mean that's. I think with this they are trying to stay competitive with that and just but also do it for the whole for everybody who wants to raid, be it me, the lowly raider, or you, the high, the progression raider. So I of course we'll have to see how it works out, of course, and yeah, the top 1% guild is going to be pissed or they don't like it or whatever. It's another change, etc., etc. But I mean, it
We'll
had
get
it
used
had
to
to
it.
change. It had to change. It couldn't go on like it was because of the differences between 10 and 25 man. Be it most of the time pro for 10 man, while 25 man was still regarded widely as one of the more hardcore, put it like that, better rating way. I wouldn't know how to say it diplomatically without stepping on some toes, but it's just, something had to change, and I
Yeah.
think everybody knew it, but nobody knew what they could expect. And I think how Blizzard has announced it, let's hope like that stays this way. That stays this way, and that we can actually get on with it and actually test it out and have fun with it.
Is it still going to be the concept of, because I'm dumb at times and don't listen to what I should do. Are you still going to have to deal clear heroic, aka
See.
normal?
They didn't specify. During the BlizzCon, hey, you could tweet your questions to the off-show panel interview. Jeff Keighley and Kat Hunter, I believe their names were. And I tweeted that as a question, and sadly they didn't ask the question. Instead, they asked really stupid questions. But that aside, we don't know.
No bitter or twist.
No.
It's marketing and politics. They're not going to answer questions they
Exactly.
don't want to answer or that they
Exactly.
can't answer. So
I
I'm
never
thinking
asked
they
my
haven't
question.
decided. It could very
Do
well
you
be
like
that.
cats? Yes, I like cats. They're going to answer stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, but basically that's something they're probably still working out, whether we have to do normal, heroic, and then mythic to be able to do it, or just heroic and then mythic. Now another thing to note is that mythic is going to be its own lockout, which means that there will be no more switching between what's currently the switching between normal and heroic difficulty per certain boss. So the entire really way of raiding is going to change next expansion as well. I can imagine a guild completely clearing heroic first before progressing in mythic mode raiding, because there's no way for you to do basically clear an instance once. You only get heroic loot, mythic loot from mythic mode. You can't then switch it to heroic mode to then do bosses 3 and 4 on heroic mode and then do boss 5 on mythic mode again. It's not going to work like that anymore.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing, because there was too much messing around, I think, than that. Too much choice. At the end of the day, if we can get everybody leveled and everything like that, if we can get everybody sorted how they should do in the heroic mode, and you do have to do heroic mode first, it should be a positive thing. It really should be. Unfortunately, I don't know how most guilds would sort itself out that way. If you're not, I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting. I just hope that they don't mess it up. Yeah, that's fair enough.
I think I might have just said all that muted, so I'm going to say it again.
No, you didn't. I could hear you.
Yes, but there's a difference between XSplit recording and Skype. Hey, mistake. Haven't made that one
Finally.
on recording in a while. So what's going to happen is that the loot lockout system for Mythic, which is the current heroic, is going to stay the same. So you will still have the instance ID for Mythic mode rating, as contrast to the other 3 modes, which are going to have the loot lockouts. So if your guild does the first 2 bosses on Mythic mode, you won't be able to do that with your own guild, obviously. And I assume the lockouts are still per lockout, so you won't be able to help others out then either. So never mind that anyway. Basically, loot is going to stay the same for Mythic mode. For the first 3 difficulties, it's going to be a lot easier. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we move on?
I think we've covered most stuff.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah, it's a painful topic actually for me to discuss. So I think we can just move on.
All right, let's get into the few smaller subjects then, as far as mechanic and feature updates goes. To promote socialness, Blizzard is going to give people extra valor points with doing dungeons if you do them in pre-made groups. Thoughts, feelings on that?
I think that's a good part. Like, I take a lot of examples at the moment from playing other games and seeing how other games work and other games do things. And at the moment, I play Final Fantasy, and that, yes, there is a duty finder system, but there's a really, really active group, like people finding groups themselves and stuff like that. It's a really, really active community there. You can have some decent chats. Yes, you get the people that do your head in. Yes, you get the morons that, as you do on every game. But to me, there's a really, really active part and community there that are wanting to actually almost be nice to each other, and which we've said on previous things as topics that we've spoken about. Unfortunately, with this game, it's not. It's got the. Unfortunately, with Final Fantasy, it's still new. Even now, it's only what. 3 months old, so it's still new, so it's still got that people wanting to speak to each other, wanting to actually think, do you know what, we'll speak to each other, we'll be nice, we'll do this. Unfortunately, with WoW, it's old. There's a lot of people that played it for a very long period of time. There's a lot of people who know exactly what they're doing, and I just think it loses its innocence a little bit just because there's a lot of I admit, I've been playing it since vanilla. At times, I will happily turn around and say, there are people that wind you up. And that's not just being bad, that's just because
they're people.
They're just people.
They're people. Not you can't be friends with everybody in the whole world, how much as you want to. I mean, there's going to be assholes, and there's going to be very unkind people, and there's going to be somewhat kinder people. So, I mean, that's just nature.
Yeah, but the thing is that you're also being forced into groups with those random people.
Well, I think that I have to be the harsher one of the group. I don't think you're
going to be the not nice people.
I just think that the semi-hardcore, the newcomers, the absolutely new who just joined the game, I think they have obviously. We come into a stage that the people who just joined the game does not appreciate all that they're being given. If people that has been here in the game since vanilla, we can see how much the game is giving away new players. So I think that it is like a parent, like their parents, how they teach their kids. If they're just overly abundant with gifts, the kids will be spoiled. And nowadays we see an overwhelming abundance of overspoiled kids. That again, it is what it is, and it's not. And they didn't appear out of the blue. They didn't appear out of nothing. They have been nurtured by Blizzard themselves. because they were not they didn't have to follow so much the strict conduct that we had to follow when we first started the game, because everything back then, it was hard, and unless you didn't pay your dues, you wouldn't get anywhere in the game. So I don't think that we can cut any more slacks to anyone, and we already seen how much the recruiter friend can benefit. Every person. So that said, I think the recruiter friend just covers everything they need to have, and the stuff that happens in game already, it's already overwhelmingly generous. So no, okay, let's now consider the people who has like multiple alts and they have to level up. People who has multiple alts, they already know the mechanics of the game, and they already know their tricks around the game. So they're not too bothered, and I'm sure they would like it. And if they also have the decision to say, well, okay, maybe in this new expansion, I'm not going to play with my priest, I'm going to play with my paladin instead. And they don't have, maybe they be a little more conscious and say, yeah, I'm not going to level every single one of my characters, or maybe they do. Some people do enjoy leveling, and every class bring this uniqueness to the game. So if Blizzard can hear me, I would say no more slacking, no more being overly friendly, and no more giving stuff, no more generosity, and no more free rides. No, people need to adapt to the game instead of the game adapting to the people. And this is my opinion.
Okay.
No.
Well, I think you do voice some of our wants. We're just trying to be nice. I think that's what it comes down
Okay,
to.
I'll take the fall for everyone, and
Of course.
Yeah, I'll take the fall.
Yeah. Well, I do agree with you. I mean, the game has gone in a direction where it might have not been best for the game to go to. To add to the extra valor for a pre-made group, though, it's also going to count. For example, you do looking for dungeon random group dungeon thing. That was very well worded by me, I know. And once you finish the first dungeon with that random group,
Random dungeon thing, yeah.
Exactly. You decide to do another group, another dungeon with that same group. Then you will also get the valor, because in the definition, then you will be a pre-made group. I guess it does encourage you to meet new people then and to stick with them, to do more dungeons with them. Maybe forge some type of social bond. Don't look at me for that, but maybe others will enjoy it.
I totally agree with also with what Mario said, but I like going back to the basic point that they are encouraging, like, basically how people used to play, because we didn't have cross realm shit. We were in the olden days. You had your silver and you had your 3, 4, 5, 6,000 people, whatever, how many people it was, and you had to do it with that. And if you had a bad reputation, you wouldn't get anywhere on that server, because everybody knew you were a dick and you were a ninja looter or whatever. That has partially gone. That has mostly gone now. I mean, it still stays with raiding, of course. Well, although you can switch realms, but a proper raiding guild will check you out and check your history and stuff. But I totally agree with what Mario said. I mean, it's not. I don't want to sound like an old grandpa telling the kids next door
In my day.
to stay off my lawn. But a lot of people who started playing, like the drawback from what Blizzard did from 7 million to 13 million to back to 7 million players, basically. I think a lot of those people, either people who don't like the game, how it's changed, or people who tried out the game and didn't like it because, well, they didn't grow up with it like we did, to put it like that. It
has
just
no sticking value.
Exactly. It's lost that sticking value that a lot of us grew into the difficult way, but that's why we invested something. We invested our heart and soul into it, and we got a lot for it in return. The new players don't have to, because they just get it.
Oh, that's one thing that we mentioned. We both, LJ plays with Final Fantasy with me as well, and that's one thing.
Right now, so
Look, that's one thing that we both actually said that Final Fantasy reminds us of. It reminds us that when we very, very first started World of Warcraft, it reminds us of those times. Every item you get, you sort of think, "Oh wow, it's quite a lot of the item." You're getting new items that actually seem useful. That not like I know the Timeless Isle is interesting for some, and it has a role to play in the fact that it gets people easy loots to sort their item level out. Yay. Not the fact that 90% of the items you get are that useless it's untrue. And it's actually quite pointless to even have them just to get your item level up. Then you go into and this is one thing we go back and then you go into LFR. LFR turns into an embarrassment because you're doing 20k DPS because the itemization was that bad in that particular item that you got. And then people start moaning at you. So really, the new people that play the game's only experience is getting items that are that bad given to them. And then going into raids, not knowing how to get the itemization correct, and being moaned at continuously because they can't compete or can't do their job because they've not been helped. They've not actually been said, well, if you do this, you'll be all right. They just basically get a free ride and then wonder why it all goes wrong.
yeah.
Let's move on unless someone has anything more to say about this.
We're old.
Yeah.
You're old. Talk for yourself, my friend.
Oh, fuck you, man. I'm not the oldest here, so.
I think that even the numbers of the WoW community, is a direct impact of how the game went from the old days to the new system they had developed and brought in to the game. I think that the numbers itself show how unhappy people were, and obviously there are some people who remain faithful. They had hope in the game. Obviously, not everyone is going to leave, but it did show that we worked hard to get where we are, and to actually see that our effort and sweat is pretty much means nothing to you anymore. And everyone who joins the game now and can pretty much get to our level, not even half of the effort that we have put in, is just really a slap in the face.
Yeah.
I do agree in some respect with a similar system to what we have with this particular way for gearing goals, if you know what I mean. This is actually, for gearing goals, it's really, really useful. It's really, really good. And I can understand maybe utilising the system for that part of it, if you know what I mean. But unfortunately, I agree. It's too easy for everybody at the moment. It's too easy for people with the items they get. They come on, go to Timeless Isle, and you've got 496 gear within, a week?
A week, yeah. And remember, and this is the most annoying factor for me. What it is, the most annoying factor for me is that we see it's being easy. The people who just join the game and they do that quest, they probably will end up bitching and moaning, saying that, oh no, I had a whole week of grinding. And it was like, are you really taking the piss?
Yeah.
Because if we really want to say, even up until Wrath of the Lich King, you still had to work your ass off. And not only to find your character with enough gear so you can do the heroics. No. You had even to progress in the storyline, complete that whole series of quests, so those areas or zones would be available for you to enter and do the raids. And that's the level of thing that you needed to appreciate back in the day, so you can do the end content. If not, if you didn't do your quest line, you wouldn't go anywhere because you wouldn't even see the entrance to the raid. As simple as that.
Yeah.
And the Burning Crusade, again, you had the factions you had to get Exalted Reputation with, you had the dailies, you had many things. And then, again, come on, Black Temple, Illidan. I mean, you had to have a solid raid group to understand everyone's composition, to understand everyone's role, to know when shamans need to drop their totems and which totems to drop, so in one particular fight they will be useful or not. So there's so many things nowadays with looking for raid. I'm sorry, that just really boils my blood. Seriously, the looking for raid system nowadays is just something that should have not existed from day one. I'm sorry, this is just me, and I'm sorry to all the new guys who just joined the game. But if you had like a briefing of 5 minutes to what was a World of Warcraft when it firstly created, all the way to the Burning Crusade, the Wrath of the Lich King, you understand where my frustration comes from. And I don't know how many people know about this, but back in the, I think it was beginning of 2001, 2002, existed a game called Star Wars Galaxies. And Star Wars Galaxies, the ultimate goal of the game is for players who chose their alliance to either Republic or Sith to become either a Jedi or a Sith Lord. Back in the beginning of the game, until the subsequent patches, I think that it worked roughly the same. For one to become a Jedi, you needed to be a specialized, top level in 10 different professions and 10 different skills, including diplomacy and all sorts of stuff. And after you maxed level all these, and then you'd have a series of quests. So then you can max another one, which open at the end, before you actually got to level, to the Jedi level or Sith Lord level. And there were a lot of people playing the games back in the day. And only maybe, let's say, in 10 servers, maybe you would see, I don't know, you would be lucky to find one Jedi or one Sith Lord in that server. And once you saw them, everyone would bow down to him because, okay, this is the guy who knows the game inside out, has done everything that needed to be done, etc. Then one famous patch, I have no idea because I never followed the game. Then one famous patch came in, which will include a lot of changes. And it was pretty much from that day forward, anyone who joined the game or had been playing could just pretty much select a few trees. It was just basically a click. And everyone from that day forward just became a Jedi out of nowhere. How do you think the community felt after that? One of the reasons Star Wars Galaxy just went, after that patch, just went boom. Because no one wanted to play the game after that.
Yeah, I agree.
And WoW, it's been lucky because it obviously had done something right, because the game, it is good, the lore is good, the playability is excellent, but it was right on the edge. And it still keeps being right on the edge. And if they're not careful, maybe actually, I think it's gone the stage where they could really be concerned about that. I think they're pretty solid, and safe on that front. But I really dreaded for a time for Blizzard, but luckily, it didn't go that bad, so still is a good sign.
Okay. I'm proposed.
Can I possibly say one thing about that? Just one short thing. That I totally agree with. I agree to some point with Mario. It's just like the other day I read a tweet from somebody that saying that. Wait, I'm just gonna pull it up. I still have it here somewhere. It was basically the person saying that they were happy with Looking for Aid because without it, they would not have had the experience. Yeah, thanks to Looking for Aid, I killed Deathwing, the final boss of an expansion. I didn't kill Lich King. I'll do the Garroshwing soon this week and be part of the game. Without the LFR, I would not get to do these things, and it's important to kill the bad guy in an expansion and not feel like a townsperson who is just raising crops for the army. I want to be a hero too. And I totally agree. That does give players the option to also feel like they impacted the World of Warcraft. So in that aspect, I think Looking for Aid does have a position to fulfill, and it's fulfilling it quite well. But I totally get it from Mario as well, and from my point of view, that what you had to do in the past, it meant a lot, and what you would do, that you'd progress, and you would have influence.
And not only that, also this person it's telling something that you can see the benefit because he doesn't know how much he has missed. Because if we remember, we had to fly to those areas, we had to fly to the instances, we had to know the area, and it really hit me when I was like, when looking for raid and the dungeon finder came about, and people there was a period until they actually Blizzard introduced a patch that said, okay, you can only use looking for dungeons if you discover the entrance of the dungeon before you enter. And it was like, I really felt bad. I really felt disheartened. I felt I feel really sad for the people. Say, I'm sorry that you didn't experience this back in our days, because you wouldn't have this problem nowadays if you had been where, or if let's phrase it correctly. If Blizzard had taught you to walk, you wouldn't tumble now. This is as simple as I can say it. If Blizzard had taught you to first crawl and then walk, you wouldn't be having this handicap nowadays, which many people had, and so many people. I dare anyone to really show me nowadays, for instance, the entrance to UBRS.
Yeah.
Are you talking about us or anyone else? Because I'm pretty sure
Anybody
I know
else,
exactly
I
where
think.
it is. I know
I think
exactly
we
where it
all
is.
know where it is.
Okay, well, as always, we've managed to go very far straight from a subject again.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Sadly, the podcast has been going long, obviously longer than usual, and one of our hosts has to go soon. So what we're going to do is we're going to end the podcast here for today. This will be the end of part 1 of our pre-BlizzCon show, and next week we'll finish off the rest of the BlizzCon subjects. We still have to talk about 1 or 2 more features or mechanic updates for WoW, and then content. And I have a special BlizzCon discussion point ready. So we're going to leave it here. Ooh, yeah.
Dun, dun,
Drum roll,
dun.
living the suspense.
So, first question, Mario, will you be here again next week?
Yes.
Yes? Promise?
Yeah, that's the intention.
All right.
Unless Blizzard,
Intentions aren't good enough.
unless Blizzard calls me and says, "Yeah, we want you to take Mike Morheim's place."
Ah.
So obviously, I would have to say yes.
Obviously.
You'd have to think about it first, of course.
Yeah. All right then. Thanks for coming again, Mario. It was fun.
My pleasure.
LJ, as always. Hope
As
you enjoyed
always.
it.
I'm part of the
As
furniture
always.
now.
Exactly. And Matt, same to you. Hope we'll see you again next week.
As soon as I'm paid, yes, darling.
Sure, I'll pay you €0. How does that sound?
You tight bastard.
Why
He's
do you
British,
have?
he doesn't
why-
even
why-
want euros.
Why do you have to? Why do you have to really take it, into the real world? We can accept gold. I can accept gold.
Same here. I'll do it for gold.
All right, then.
Saves me
I
the
think
grinding.
This is a good note to end it on. I'm Mezzy, and we'll see you again next time.